Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland, with me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, while you're planning your wedding, you're going to come across some really big decisions to make. But there are going to be a few things that I guarantee you haven't even started to think about. My name is Kelly and I'm the host of the Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast. And today I'm going to walk you through 6 wedding details that I know you haven't started to think about. But I'm not just going to tell you what those details are. I'm going to give you the answer to the question so that you don't have to have the details sitting in your head, but you'll know exactly what to do. So now I mentioned at the beginning that there will be some big things that you will have thought about. You know, things like your venue and your photographer, maybe the songs that you're going to play at different points in the day. You may have already started giving some thought to, the wedding morning timeline, some of those details that maybe they could wait, but you've probably, got some information in your mind about what you might want to do. The 6 things that I'm going to list today, I would be very impressed if any of these things have even crossed your mind. They definitely hadn't crossed my mind at all in the first few months of planning my wedding and being engaged. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through each of these 6 things and then the answer to the questions and the pointers for what you need to know. So the first thing, what are you going to do with your engagement ring on the day? Now, you might not know this, but out of your 2 rings, so your wedding ring and your engagement ring, your wedding ring is the one that is worn closest to your heart. So in terms of how your rings are stacked, if you're holding your hand up, the ring at the bottom, which would be closest to your heart, is your wedding ring, and then the one at the top is your engagement ring. So when you really think about it, if you walk into your wedding day with your engagement ring on, how do you get your rings in the correct order? So you have 4 options available to you. Option 1, you just wear one ring. And if you're going to wear one ring, there are lots and lots of reasons why this is a good thing. So perhaps you just don't wear the engagement ring on the day and you end up having one ring where maybe it's your engagement ring and your wedding ring getting soldered together. That's one option. Option 2, you can put your engagement ring on your right hand for the ceremony, and then later on in the day, you can just swap it over. Option 3, keep your engagement ring on your left hand as usual, and then later in the day, you can swap them. That's what I did. I just left the engagement ring on as normal. It was on me in the photos leading up to the wedding ceremony. And then after the ceremony in the car, I just swapped the order of the rings. And then the final option is you just don't wear your engagement ring at all on the day of your wedding. And this is particularly helpful for anybody who has a very special engagement ring, which is pretty much all of us. But the ones of us who may be a little bit on the clumsy side and may be worried that in all the swapping and everything, you might lose it. So there's one detail that you probably haven't thought about. Let's move on to option number 2. Where do you put your lipstick and your phone? Now, there are some good reasons to have your lipstick with you on your wedding day. You're going to have photos taken throughout the day. You may want to have your lipstick topped up after the ceremony, before you go and have your couple's photos taken. Later in the day, before you do your first dance, you will have eaten, had things to drink, lipstick gets, smudged, whatever. It doesn't matter, like the quality of your lipstick, you're going to need touch-ups. Having your phone, sure, you're not going to be answering the phone because everyone who you could want to talk to on the phone will be with you. But you might want to take some pictures, who knows? There are reasons to have these things. And there are other items that you might want to have nearby. Painkillers, hair clips, gum, the rest of it. But where do you actually put them? So I always recommend having just a little clutch or a handbag with only the essentials. So I'm not talking about your wedding emergency kit. That's a separate thing for another day. I'm talking about the things that you want to have with you. So for me, it was a little clutch that had my lipstick, it had my phone, and I think I had some painkillers because I was wearing a headband on my wedding day. And I know that if I wear a headband, it puts pressure on my head and then eventually I'm going to get a headache. And so I had painkillers with me because I knew that I would need them. So what you do is you pack this clutch ahead of time. You put the things in, like your phone that you're going to use during the day. You put that in at the last minute and you give it to someone else. But you tell them ahead of time that their responsibility on the day is to look after the clutch. And so if it's a bridesmaid or a close friend or somebody who's involved in the ceremony, what they'll probably do is put that in the boot of their car or somewhere safe during the ceremony, because no one's opening bags and getting phones and things at that point. And then after the ceremony, they will then take the clutch and have it on them. And so if you need those painkillers or the lipstick or whatever, they will be the ones that you go to. And that person knows that they can't be going MIA at any point in the night. Like, they need to be close by it so that if you need that item, they've got the bag and they're close. Okay, let's move on to point number 3. And that is the question of, when should I take my last toilet break? Now, this is probably not a very sexy thing to be talking about, but it's really important. So here's what we recommend. On the morning of the wedding, have a hearty breakfast because you need to keep your energy up for the day. Drink lots of water because it's just a good idea. It's just good to have water. It's good to have fresh breath. It's good to have clear skin. Keep yourself hydrated. But then before you put on your wedding dress, wash your hands, because you just never know if you've got some mascara or anything on your hands that you don't want to get in the dress. And then go to the loo. So that is your last toilet break, because depending on the type of dress you have, you may not be able to go to the loo again until well after the ceremony. So just think about how much time is going to pass in you're going to put the dress on, you're going to have some pictures taken, you're going to go to the ceremony location, you're going to have the whole ceremony, you're going to be greeting your guests afterwards, and then you may have a chance to go to the bathroom before you have pictures taken. But consider your morning timeline, and also think about how difficult it is going to be to actually go to the loo. Once you have your dress on, if you have lots of layers, if it's a big wedding dress, you may have to do that shuffle onto the toilet. Here's a bonus tip. When you go to the loo in your wedding dress, face the wall. So don't sit on the loo the way you normally would with all your layers behind you, possibly getting into the water of the toilet bowl, but face the wall. Have a bridesmaid or a sister or mother with you to hold the back of the dress and actually scoot forward onto the toilet. And that is the easiest way to pee in a wedding dress. I've actually been the bridesmaid to help someone pee in their wedding dress, and it worked really, really well. Okay, item number 4. How do I make sure that I actually get to eat something on my wedding day? I have a very important tip for you. If you don't plan for it to happen, it's not going to happen. Your day is going to go by so quickly. So many couples say that to us. The day goes by so fast, you're going to lose track of time. But what you don't want is to have spent so much time choosing the perfect meal, having your meal tastings, and then you get to the day and you don't even get to eat any of this delicious food that you have spent time, thinking about. So we want to make sure that you're eating. It also helps to keep your energy up and, to make sure you have the best day possible, especially if you're going to be drinking. You want to make sure that you're eating as well. So here's what you're going to do. There are a few different moments in the day that you need to be planning for. First one, when you're getting ready. You have to just plan this in. So I recommend that when you're planning your morning of the day timeline, include breakfast time in the day. Don't just assume you'll have breakfast, because when everything gets started, it becomes increasingly difficult to stop and eat. So plan it in. Then delegate the responsibility to one of your bridesmaids who will be there on the morning to help make sure you eat. So we've spoken about this before, that each person who's getting ready with you should have a role. So somebody could be taking pictures, somebody could be, getting a playlist together, someone else could be just checking that everyone's on track and that the timing is going well. But someone else's responsibility can be to literally just make sure that you are drinking water and you have something to eat. That person doesn't necessarily have to prepare the food for you, although bonus if they can, but it's really just making sure that you are eating throughout the day, specifically the morning of the wedding. Second part in the day is cocktail hour. Now, the reason that this one needs to be thought about is because usually during cocktail hour, you would be getting pictures taken and your guests would be enjoying all the canapes and the delicious food. Sometimes the timeline works out in such a way that you can be with your guests for part of the cocktail hour and taking photos for the other part. And we have shared that as an option previously when we were talking about the concept of actually spending time with your guests on the day. So if that's the option that you've chosen, you may be there, but you might find that you're still not able to eat anything. So ask your wedding planner or your venue coordinator to put some canapes or whatever you're serving everyone else, bread or whatever it is, ask them to put some of it into a box and then bring it to you if you're taking pictures, or actually if you're mingling with your guests, to actually bring food to you to make sure you eat something. Okay, next time in the day is mains. Now, the trick here is to make sure that you're served first. So if everybody is seated, if, let's say, for example, you've had, one or two speeches, and then the mains come out, everyone's already seated, they're primed to have another course come out soon. You get served first, so by the time you are done eating, everyone else will be eating. And if they want to come and have a chat, or if somebody wants to give you information or take pictures of you or whatever it is, you will have already eaten at that point. So that's the key, is to make sure you serve first. So just talk to your venue coordinator about what they normally do. Most people would serve the couple first, but just ask. And then the final thing that I want to talk about when it comes to food is your wedding cake. Again, another thing you're going to spend loads of time thinking about, and you're going to be choosing the perfect flavors and the colors and the design and all the different elements, like the cake topper, and you're going to be cutting the cake for the pictures and everything. But often there isn't time for you to actually eat cake. I certainly didn't eat any wedding cake on my wedding day. So this is what we did, and what I highly recommend you do too. Ask your wedding planner, your venue coordinator, or your best friend, maid of honor, whoever it is, to get a few slices of cake and put it into a box for you. So for our wedding, we had a cake table, and I think we had like 5 different cakes, and I wanted to try all of them. So I'd already had little samples as they were being made, but I didn't get to try them in all their glory. And so we got a slice of each type of cake, and we had some cupcakes too. They were all put in a box, and then we got somebody to put that box in the car that we were taking for our first night away as a married couple. So I recommend you do the same. The day after we got married, we were eating loads of cake, and it was great. I was so thankful that we'd thought ahead. So that's what I recommend you do. If you want to eat on your wedding day, plan for it. Okay, we've got 2 more things we're going to talk about. How are you going to hold your wedding bouquet? Now, I know you haven't thought about this. I didn't think about it. And most brides just literally do not think about it. You just go, sure, I'm just going to hold it somewhere in front of me, right? But actually, there's a little bit of a technique, and I'm not sharing this to stress you out or to give you anything to panic about. I'm just sharing it because on the day, you're going to know, and you won't need to worry. So this is what you do. Super simple. You put your wrists at your hip bone, and you hold the bouquet in front of your belly. So it means that your arms will be a little bit bent, but still relaxed. And it means that your flowers won't be hiding you. So you're not going to be, hiding away behind the flowers. And then depending on the shape of the bouquet, you can tilt your bouquet ever so slightly forward so that people will be looking at the flowers and not the stems. But now if you're not sure on the shape of the bouquet and if you should tilt the flowers or not, just ask your florist a few questions. And these are 3 questions that you can ask. Question 1, should this bouquet be viewed from the side up and down or as a bunch angled towards people? Simple, just ask, they'll tell you. Question number 2, will my bouquet be heavy when it's complete? And this will help you to know, if you're expecting to hold something lightweight or if you need to put a little bit of muscle into it. And then question number 3, will the stems be short enough that I could angle the bouquet towards people without my dress getting wet? Because of course your flowers will be in water before you pick them up. Ask these questions. The reason that we're bringing this up today is just to get you thinking ahead about a couple of details that you probably haven't thought of. Okay, the final one. This is a pretty important one because it can make or break the whole experience that you have of your entire wedding day. And that is how to make sure that your shoes don't kill your feet. And I have a few tips for you. We've shared these on the podcast before, but they're so important. And they literally could make or break your day because if you have sore feet, you're going to feel grumpy. So first, wear the right size. If you have a good fit, it's much easier to feel comfortable in your shoes. If you're worried about slipping around, you can scrape the bottoms of your shoes or you can spray them with hairspray. And if you're worried that they're going to look gross, no one's looking at the bottom of your shoes on your wedding day. Have you ever looked at the bottom of someone's shoes on their wedding day? I guarantee you probably have not. Another tip is you can walk around in your shoes and actually wear them in beforehand, and then your feet will feel more comfortable. If you're really, really uncomfortable in your shoes, and this only works if you do this beforehand, you can use the hairdryer trick. So get some really big, thick socks, put them on your feet, and then squeeze your feet back into the shoes, and then use a hairdryer to apply heat to all the places that pinch your feet, and it will just allow your shoes to have a little bit more give, and then when you put your feet in them, they're not going to feel super tight and uncomfortable. And the bonus tip, have backups. When in doubt, have a pair of comfortable shoes, at least for the pictures and for the dancing. So if you're going to have uncomfortable shoes, at least it's not for the whole day and it's not going to make or break the entire experience that you have. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered, and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.